It's Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. You know, as I was watching some of the business shows this morning, reading a few articles, I thought to myself, it feels like the Grim Reaper is coming. There's this financial Grim Reaper, and he is going to take a lot of victims. And I know people out there saying, JB, what are you talking about? Market was up. Dow Jones up 560 points today. What are you talking about? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. How do you think these markets can be up 560 points with the news that we have coming out of the banking system here, real estate, people defaulting on their homes, the massive unemployment numbers we're seeing? Dow Jones up 560 points. Look, these are just numbers on a screen at this point. This whole thing is so manipulated and fake. And it should be a prime example in your face of what is going on. This should be reinforcing what I'm saying, what a lot of people in the comments down below are saying. These are digits on a screen. This is pure manipulation. This is plunge protection team. This is the Fed coming in and buying everything. This is massive quantitative easing, helicopter money. This is what is so concerning, the consequences that this country is going to pay for what it is doing right now, for what the government, for what the Federal Reserve are doing, for what our financial institutions, our banks, for the criminality that is taking place. It's going to be the 99% that pay the consequences. There's an article today on Zero Hedge. Wells Fargo reports 1 cent profit after loan loss prevention soars to $4 billion. $4 billion. But Dow Jones up 560 points. Here's another one. JP Morgan profit plunges to 7-year low on $6.8 billion in loan loss reserves as Jamie Dimon warns of severe recession. Zero Hedge today. So make sure you're doing your homework. Make sure you're checking this stuff out. Here's another one. Boeing tumbles after customers cancel record 150 MAX orders in March. That alone should send the stock market tumbling. But again, bad news is good news. It doesn't matter what's happening in the real world. It doesn't matter that the Grim Reaper is coming. All that matters is the Fed is now buying everything and propping these markets up. Here's another one. Small business funds dwindle as aid package sputters. They're going to be out of money this Friday. Small business loans. The money is gone. Will run out by this Friday. So what do they want to do? They want to print up a bunch more money and throw that into the small business bailout. So who's paying for all this bailout? Who's paying for all this stimulus? We're going to pay for it. The US dollar is going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it every time you go to the grocery store, every time you make a purchase, because your buying power is being obliterated. I was talking to somebody this morning who really felt sorry for a lot of people and what's going on here in America. And let me be very clear. My heart goes out to people who are suffering right now, people who are losing their businesses, losing cars, homes, going into default, not being able to pay their bills. It's heart-wrenching. There is no doubt about it. But at some point, we have got to take responsibility for ourselves. You know, many people decided to listen to their politicians. They decided to listen to their financial advisors. They decided to listen to the banks, the financial institutions. They decided to listen to the people on the television. People in America listen to too much instead of thinking for themselves. They need other people to think for them. They need the guy in the suit on the television to tell him he needs to be buying the dip. He needs to be buying in the phony stock market. He needs to gamble his entire future in the stock market. Listening to the politicians who, you know, have our best interests at heart. We've been lied to time after time after time, and people continue to believe the nonsense. And this is why people are now broke. This is why they're desperate. This is why they're in big trouble, because they cannot think for themselves. Yes, I feel sorry for a lot of people out there, but at some point, we got to come to the destination where we've got to all start thinking for ourselves, not trusting the financial institutions, the central banks, and the politicians, thinking for ourselves, making our own rational decisions, thinking, is this really safe? Should I really be doing this? Are these markets real, or is this whole thing an illusion? People cannot think for themselves, and this is now why they are broke. This is why they're in big trouble. And now they're being told that the Fed is going to come to the rescue, lend them, give them a loan, get them deeper in debt, get them deeper on the hook, take the loan, take the money. And many will do it. And they're going to become even bigger debt slaves than they were before. Again, I was told that, you know, it's going to be good when people get back to work, and I believe that's true. But many people aren't going to go back to work. Many people aren't going to go back to the same life that they just left. Before this whole collapse even happened, and remember, this is only 3 or 4 weeks of a downturn, and look at the damage it's done. You would think that if this was the best economy in history, if we had the lowest unemployment in 60 years, how in the world did 3 bad weeks turn our economic world upside down? Well, let's look a little deeper. 50% of this country before the collapse was making less than $31,000. Now people are skipping house payments, they're skipping rent payments, they're skipping their auto payments. After not working 2 or 3 weeks, they already can't make the payments. This is just another example of how fragile this economy was, how broke the consumer was, how weak the consumer was. But we had politicians, we had Jerome Powell telling us that consumer's never been stronger, the economy's never been stronger. But it's amazing the 180 that the Fed did. They were talking about raising rates. Now we're at 0. Now the balance sheet is exploding. Now the consumer is being exposed for what they are, broke. And the economy is being exposed for what it is. It's literally fake. We have a very weak economy, one of the weakest in history. Now the bankrupt government, which is $24 trillion in debt, is going to bail out Americans, going to bail out small business, going to bail out corporations, going to bail out foreign banks, foreign entities. That blows my mind right there. How can a government that is $24 trillion in debt, now if we take unfunded liabilities, Medicare, Medicaid, we're around $150 trillion. So the U.S. government, $24 trillion in debt, another $150 trillion in debt if you include unfunded liabilities. Then if we add pensions to this, we're around $200 trillion in debt, yet the government is going to save everybody from debt while the government is in bankruptcy. It's broken. It's just loaded with debt. So think about that. We have a bankrupted, broke government that is going to come in and save the broke consumers, the broke business. It's mind-blowing. Now people are going to be more dependent on the government than ever. Small business dependent on the government. Everybody's going to get their $1,200 stimulus check, taking all the little crumbs from the government that is broke. Everybody is broke. I think we need to understand that. Corporations, businesses, the households, the consumers, and the government, everybody's broke. And so how long can this cycle go on when a broke government continues to print money and save the day, to save the consumer, while the government itself is broke? Think about that. It really is mind-blowing, and it's going to come to an end at one point because something is going to give. 2 million Americans already have missed a mortgage payment in this country. Think about that. Again, a couple bad weeks, and 2 million people already can't make a house payment. We already knew that there were over 7 million people that were severely delinquent on auto payments. I can't even imagine what that number is going to be when it comes out. Is it going to be 8 million? Is it going to be 9 million? How many people now are severely delinquent, or just 30, 60 days delinquent, not 90 days? These numbers are going to be astonishing. Small business loans. You're taking money that must be paid back. I don't think people realize that this money must be paid back, that you are now obligated to the U.S. government. The borrower is a slave to the lender. If these small businesses were already in this kind of trouble, now they're taking on even more debt on top of the debt that they already had that they couldn't pay back. This is why they're taking loans, because of debt. Look, the Grim Reaper is coming, and the government can come in and print more money. All it is going to do is buy time. Many of these companies are going bankrupt. Many of these companies will never be able to pay these loans back. Many of these small businesses are never going to reopen their doors to begin with, because the damage that has been done in the last 4 weeks cannot be fixed. So as everybody is being affected by debt, the answer to this is to acquire more debt, and to acquire it from the federal government. Long-term pain is coming to America. There's going to be severe consequences coming for this behavior. 75% of Americans say that their income has already been cut. Dow Jones up 560 points today. I guess the markets don't care about the Americans losing their paychecks, getting their wages cut. China now isn't here in America buying homes. It's not buying real estate. It's not buying skyscrapers. Things are going to change in the housing market, in the commercial real estate market. They're going to change very abruptly. Americans aren't going to run out to sporting events. This is what we're all returning to. It's going to be a different world, a new world, different economy. But Americans aren't going to run out to sporting events. They're not going to run out to music events. They're not going to just jump on airplanes. They're not going to just run out and spend the weekend at a resort. First off, they don't have the money. Secondly, there is still fear on what's going on. We don't know what to believe with this whole situation. And people don't feel safe because they don't know what to believe. So many of these people who think that the president's going to flip a switch and the economy is going to be back to normal, they are drinking the Kool-Aid. This historical debt now that we have, it is literally guaranteeing the meltdown. The bubbles continue to get bigger than ever. The debt is unsustainable. I cannot tell you enough the danger that we are heading into. And I think anybody that can add 2 + 2 can figure it out. We are heading into very dangerous time. The debt bubbles are enormous, and they are going to take down a lot of people. There are going to be a lot of people victimized by this debt, by this economy. Unlike the last crisis, we are now at 0%. We're in a recession right now. There's no doubt about it. We're in a recession with 0% interest rates. Before the last financial crisis, we were around 4.5. We now have a Fed with a balance sheet exceeding $6.1 trillion. We're in a recession right now with an expanding balance sheet, historical balance sheet with the Fed, and 0% interest rates. Where's the ammo? How are we going to get out of this? And we know that we are heading straight into a depression. Think about that. The federal balance sheet is heading straight to $10 trillion plus at 0% interest rates, while this economy is heading into the greatest depression the world has ever seen. What are they going to do as this recession deepens? They're already buying everything. The Fed is buying everything. They're running out of ammo. Wait till states in this country need bailouts. Wait till the pensions need bailouts. They're going to be printing so much money. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out that hyperinflation is also coming to America. Look, the Grim Reaper is coming. And there are going to be millions of victims. Millions of people are going to lose everything because of this blowing up of these bubbles, the massive blowing up of debt. This can never be paid back. All it can do at this point now is destroy this economy, destroy what's left of the US dollar. This whole thing is going to end up very, very badly. Go back to the 2008 financial crisis. What did we do? We printed a lot of money. We refinanced the entire crisis and kicked the can down the road. And here we are in 2020. U.S. debt now is exceeding $24 trillion. Fed balance sheet is ballooning. 0% interest rates. All we did was purchase time with all this money printing. It bought us time, but that's all it bought. It did not repurchase anything other than time. People now have less today than they did back before the last financial crisis. One thing we have more of is debt. I think people need to prepare themselves for the next phase of what's coming. And that's going to be bailing out the government, bailing out states, bailing out pensions, all while your 401k is obliterated. Your property taxes are going to go up. Federal taxes are going to go up. But hey, that's going to be okay because the fireman, the police officer, and the school teacher who all work for the state, they're going to have those pensions that you paid for. So your next door neighbor, the school teacher, she's going to be okay while you work your knuckles off to pay for the government, to pay to bail out the states, to pay to bail out the pensions. Your neighbor, the school teacher, is going to be just fine while you go broke, while your 401k is obliterated, while you become the debt slave. This truly could cause serious unrest in America, and I hope it's avoided. But again, as we have all this wealth inequality, opportunity inequality, while everybody's becoming a debt slave, where's the breaking point? Will people eventually say enough's enough? I guess we'll wait and see how it all plays out. I hope it can be avoided. I hope it never comes to that. But we are really playing with fire here, ladies and gentlemen, and we're getting to a point where a lot of this is going to be unavoidable. It's amazing how many of the trolls have disappeared. So many people who told me that car sales were so great in their area, home sales were so great. You know, the government's just going to print money forever and everything's going to be fine and my 401k is doing great and all these people have disappeared. But you know, I'm a statistical type person. I deal with facts. And when I look at numbers like this, let's take the national debt during World War II. It was $25 billion. We are now printing today $125 billion per day. Just to keep the bubbles inflated, to keep kicking the can down the road. I mean, think about those numbers. Our national debt was $25 billion. We print $125 billion a day like it's chump change. You think that there's going to be no consequences to this? If you do, you are living in a coma. Do you really think that this is going to end well for most Americans? This is why it is so important to own gold, silver. It is so important to just pay off debt the best that you can, to have some assets. This is why it's so important, because we know throughout history that this ends very badly. What is taking place is so dangerous for the future of this country. This is an economic grim reaper. Money printing, debt, hyperinflation. This is all dangerous to your future, to my future, to the future of America. This collapse is unavoidable. It's coming. We've already seen the signs. We've already seen previews. This collapse will be the biggest in history. It will create a lot of victims. This is the time, if you're watching this video today, this is the time to get healthy, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. If you're sitting at home furloughed, laid off, unemployed right now, this is the time to get in better shape, mentally, physically, spiritually, and if you can, financially. Do the best that you can. Spend a little less. If you could have a garage sale, if you can sell something, start trying to save up some money. But there's something you can be doing with the downtime right now. You could be making yourself a better person. You could be making yourself a better asset. Take the time use it wisely. People are going to be getting those $1,200 stimulus checks. I know a lot of people are going to have to use it for necessities, groceries, rent, what have you. I know that. But if there's any way you can take a little portion of that and put some cash away or to buy a couple ounces of silver, do that. Do that. This is the time we really need to be making changes. We really need to be thinking. Stop being reliant on the government. This is the time right now to start detaching from the government. Start detaching from being a slave to the government or to the banking institutions. Have assets, have skills. If you don't have assets and you don't have a skill set, you're going to be a victim when this whole thing collapses. We need to ask ourselves, how did we get here? I mean, this didn't happen overnight. This took decades of deceit, decades of criminality, decades of money printing and lying. That's why we're here today. We got here because the schools failed you. The government failed you, the politicians failed you, and the financial institutions failed you, and the media failed you. I watch these business shows in the morning, and I mean, you would just think these were the greatest times in history. That you're a fool if you're not buying into the illusion, if you're not buying into these markets. You're a fool if you don't step up to the poker table and bet the house. The media has lied to all of you. It's time to take responsibility for you. At the end of the day, the government, the financial institutions, the banks, the media, nobody's going to be there to pick you up when things collapse. You are responsible for you. So I'm going to wrap it up right here, but I want to make this point, maybe a couple points. Right now, we must take responsibility. And people go, well, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And there's a lot of things you can do. You could stop smoking today. You could stop boozing. You could stop smoking weed. You could stop blaming everybody for your problems. You could stop denying that there are major problems here in this country, that there is a major collapse coming to America. People continue to deny the truth. So maybe you could start believing reality, stop denying truth, start looking at the facts, start reading, start becoming self-reliant, self-sufficient, self-thinking. That's something you could do right now today. We got to realize that all this free money, the stimulus checks, the bailouts, none of this is free. There's no free lunch. They're going to give it to you over here, but they're going to take it back over there. You know, I think we can learn a few lessons over the past few weeks with what we saw on television, how people reacted over a few bad weeks of this economy. I saw the poor and I saw the middle class stockpiling toilet paper. I saw the rich, the wealthy, the 1% in the central banks. They were stockpiling gold and silver. Take a real look at what's going on. Take a look at how the poor and the middle class, how they react in the bad times and what they do. Take a look at what the wealthy and the central banks do. They're buying gold. Really interesting article today to back that up on Zero Hedge. Central banks add more gold to their reserves. That's today, okay? This is what they did in February. Central banks added 36 tons of gold to their reserves in February. Question is, how much did you add? Look, we're going to get into some real bad times here. All this stimulus, all this helicopter money, all the quantitative easing, all the repo injections, all of the magic tricks can buy some time. There may be some complacency here. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Top off all your preps, whether that's water, food, gear, security. Make sure you have gold. Make sure you have silver. I have a link down below, SD Bullion. I don't care where you get it. But if you need a place, go to SD Bullion, link down below. They've been absolutely phenomenal. But hey, you can go to your pawn shop, you can go to your local coin shop, you can go to whoever you use online. But I think that if you can get it, this is the time to make sure that you are getting it. We are going to have some complacency here. But the real problems are not going to go away because the debt is unsustainable. You cannot fix things by creating more debt. I'm going to leave it there today. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Please share it, blast it all over social media, send it to your friends, your family members. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. God bless every one of you. Talk to you very soon.